Jasper woke up the next morning and saw herself still in an embrace with Steven, who was already awake. "Morning, Jasper, how did you sleep?" She stretched a bit, making sure to stay in Steven's embrace. "I never rested like that before," she said, yawning between words. He reached out and stroked her cheek. Jasper looked away, blushing. "Are you hungry, Steven?" He nodded yes and told her, "I'll go get something for us and you stay here." Steven left to go look for something to eat, and back in bed Jasper was thinking about what happened the day before. "Steven chose me over the gems, but why? All I've brought him is just pain." Her deep thoughts were suddenly interrupted by Steven coming back in the room. "Jasper, I think we need to go shopping because there is nothing to eat here." Steven needed something to get dressed in. "Steven, if you want to get something to wear, check in the clothing or in the armor compartment." He found some clothes in a storage compartment, but they were a bit worn out. "We really need to go shopping, so get ready, Jasper." She got ready and met Steven by the ship. "Steven, we really need to get a new ship. We might have to go back to the battlefields." He looked down with concern. "We will go back sometime, Jasper," as he helped her onto the ship. Jasper was at the controls of the ship putting in coordinates, and Steven came from behind her and held her. "I want to stay here longer with you." Jasper couldn't help but smile. "I know Steven will be back home soon." As their ship jumped and appeared hovering above a forest. "We have to hide the ship to make sure that the gems don't find us," Jasper told Steven, and she noticed he looked down a bit after that. "Don't worry, Steven," as she kissed him on the cheek. They landed the ship in the forest and left it cloaked. "So Jasper, where are we?" She looked down on her HUD. "We are in South Korea." It was one of the save locations in the console. Steven took out his wallet and saw it was empty. "Jasper, we need to get some money." She looked at him confused. "You mean your form of currency?" "That's easy," as she types in some words on the ship's console. Steven asked worryingly, "What did you do, Jasper?" She looked at him and smiled. "Don't worry, Steven, I did it so that they wouldn't notice us." They got to the city after a long trek. "So Steven, what's first on the list?" He smiled at her. "Well, you have been watching a lot of shows about us, so what do you think?" She scratched her head a bit. "Well, I know you. We need food, clothes, and I want to get something to look good for you." They started walking through the city close to each other and started to get separated by the large crowds. "Jasper, grab my hand." She got Steven's hand. "We could have just blasted all of them out of the way," she said in an unamused tone. "Well, Jasper, we are trying to blend in, plus I want more time in this place. There is something I might have to show you sometime." He smiled, talking to her. They started walking again and Steven grabbed her hand just to make sure we don't get separated again. She blushed, looking away. At the first store, they were selling clothes, but Jasper got distracted by an advert on the Megatrons. "That's food, Steven." He smiled, never having seen Jasper so interested. "Do you want some, Jasper? It's really good." She nodded her head yes. There was a corner store selling ice cream. "Here, Jasper, have some." She took a taste of ice cream and kept taking more. "This is so good, Steven, have some." They shared ice cream. "This is good, Jasper, but order one and let's get shopping." She bought one and followed behind Steven, holding his hand. Steven bought some food while Jasper followed, having her ice cream. "Steven, I will be right back. I've to get something important." "Okay, Jasper, but remember, don't cause any trouble." She smiled, waving, running off into another store. "Now I have to get something that looks good for Steven." She hesitated but then went and asked the lady for help. "Hello, human, can you help me? I want to look good for someone." The store owner came to her. "So you want to look good for someone special?" Jasper blushed and looked at her. "Yes, someone really special." They helped her to the changing rooms and began sorting through a lot of clothes. "So what impression do you want to make on this guy? Are you together?" Jasper looked baffled. "Together? I saw about this on TV," she thought, questioning everything, and told the store clerk. "What does it mean to be together?" The store clerk stopped for a minute and looked at Jasper. "Well, I can tell you're a young woman and you might not understand, but to be with someone is to have someone you always want to be with. Jasper looked more intrigued. So if I want to protect him and keep him happy, does that mean I am with him? The store clerk smiled at her. Sounds like you're in love with him. Jasper finished dressing and stepped out of the changing room. Love? She got some clothes and packed them away but didn't leave. Instead of sitting down, so lady tells me more about love and being with someone. She laughed. Firstly, my name is Kayla, and what is yours? Jasper was getting bored. My name is Jasper. Now tell me about being together with someone. Kayla smiled. Okay Jasper, to be with someone they need to be with you, want you as much and does things for you. Jasper was thinking about it for a bit. Steven protects and does a lot of things for me. I don't know if he wants to be with me. Kayla looked at Jasper, stuck in thought. Jasper, don't think about it too much, just ask him, then you can see what's what. Jasper still looked confused and Kayla offered her a phone. Look it up on my phone, maybe you can become his girlfriend or more. Jasper asked, what is a girlfriend? Kayla typed and on the phone. Look at this. It was an explanation of what is a girlfriend. A person's regular female companion with whom they have a romantic or sexual relationship. Before Jasper could ask any more questions, Steven walked in. Hey Jasper, did you finish getting your stuff? Steven asked. She sprung to attention. Yes Steven. Kayla noticed how she acted and whispered to Jasper, just ask him. Jasper was panicking as Steven walked toward her but went for it anyway. Steven, I have been meaning to ask. Are we together? Am I your girlfriend? Steven was shocked and responded nervously, yes, I would like to think so, but it's up to you if you want to be with me. Jasper ran to Steven, tackling him to the ground and sat on top of him. Yes Steven, I want to be with you and no one else but you. Steven smiled and raised his hand, bringing Jasper closer. Hello. Please get a room, said Kayla, and they were a bit embarrassed. Let's go home Jasper, she nodded as he took her hand. While waiting through the crowd, Steven notices a blue person walking on the other side. It's Lapis. They walked through the crowd more steadily, making sure to avoid being seen. She walked past and noticed Steven but not Jasper. Steven, hey Steven. He told Jasper to head for the ship and get it ready. I will get there soon Jasper. She went on ahead as Lapis came to Steven. Hey Steven, I thought you almost didn't see me, so what are you doing here? He tried to laugh it off. No, I saw you. What are you doing here? Lapis told Steven about her travels. I noticed you grew. Steven. Lapis' hand moved in and touched Steven's. You know, I never got to thank you for letting me free and always being there for me. Steven let her hand go. It's okay Lapis, I gotta go and we can chat later. Bye, he said as he ran off to the forest. He got to the ship and Jasper was waiting. Let's go home, Steven. They got on the ship and headed home, but as they ship jumped, Lapis noticed it. A homeworld ship? What is it doing here? At the moon base. Jasper rushed off and told Steven to wait for her. I want you to see what I got today. He sat down and waited, then she came out. So what do you think Steven? Steven's jaw dropped as he couldn't believe what Jasper was wearing, a white tank top and black sweatpants. I love it, Steven said as he walked to Jasper, holding her hands, viewing her more. Jasper couldn't stop blushing and kept looking away. She looked at Steven. Hey, I want to be with you. I want to be your girlfriend. Steven was so happy and kissed Jasper. I won't ever leave you Steven. He smiled, stroking her hair. I won't ever leave you, Jasper. He let her go for a moment. I know what can make this moment better. Jasper stood there shy and Steven started to play music. Do you want to dance? She smiled. I can't dance Steven. He laughed, pulling her clothes. I can't dance too, so let's just figure it out together. They danced till they tripped and fell. As they laughed out,